You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. You know what I'm starting with, so let's just get right into it. The incredible performance by Giannis Antetokounmpo last night to win the Bucks their first NBA title since 1971. In the NBA playoffs, you need your superstars to elevate their game to another level if you want to win. It's why the 76ers didn't do anything. It's why the Lakers didn't do anything. The Bucks didn't have that issue. Giannis elevated his game to a superhuman level. There is a reason why he is called the Greek Freak. He is a freak. This guy is just built differently. The first player in NBA history to have 50 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks in a finals game. He finished with 14 rebounds. Superhuman. People were seriously bringing up the possibility that Chris Middleton could win Finals MVP over Giannis. All due respect to Chris Middleton, he had a really good Finals. He wasn't even in the same stratosphere as Giannis. For Giannis to do what he did, especially yesterday, in an elimination game, to prevent a Game 7 in Phoenix, to win in Milwaukee, to put the Bucks on his back, when, let's be honest, Middleton wasn't great, Jrue Holiday wasn't great. The second best player for the Bucks, offensively, may have been Bobby Portis. For Giannis to put that team on his back is nothing short of incredible. You've got to realize something about that game. The first half was really topsy-turvy. The Bucks are up 29-16 after the first quarter. The Suns can't put the ball in the ocean. You've got people saying it's over, forget about it, the Bucks are going to run away with this game. Not necessarily. The Suns come storming back. They outscore the Bucks 31-13 in the second quarter. They're up by 2 at the half. Okay, fantastic. We've got a game here. Chris Paul is stepping up. Cameron Payne is stepping up. This is going to be a great finish. It was. Giannis scored 33 of his 50 points in the second half. To put that in perspective, you know how many points the entire Bucks team scored in the second half? 63. Giannis accounted for more than half of the Bucks' second half points. That's nothing short of incredible. There was a narrative going around on Twitter, hey, don't worry about the free throw shooting of Giannis. He's a better free throw shooter at home than he is on the road. I was skeptical of that. This is the NBA Finals. This is an elimination game. How much can you really count on Giannis to step up at the charity stripe? The guy hit 17 of his 19 free throws. Absolutely incredible. What's the scouting report on Giannis? Don't let him beat you inside. Make him earn it from the free throw line. He earned it. Giannis is nothing short of incredible. Take a look at a picture of him from 2013. Here's this lanky kid from Greece. No one knows anything about him. Everyone's killing the pic. They can't even pronounce his name. There were people predicting that this guy would be out of the NBA in 5 years. Take a look at his resume. He's a 2-time MVP, a Finals MVP. He just won the first championship for the Bucks in 50 years. Is it too early to call this guy a future Hall of Famer? If Giannis was to retire tomorrow, he'd get my Hall of Fame vote. For God's sake, it took this guy until January 20th, 2014 to first try a smoothie, and he thought it was the greatest thing ever invented. Now he's one of, if not the best player in the NBA. I loved watching Giannis play before this playoff run. I didn't know it was possible for me to love watching him play anymore. He found another level. If this guy is going to be the future face of the NBA is in great hands. He proved that hard work pays off. Again, just take a look at how he looked in his rookie season. You loved his wingspan. You loved his frame, but he needed to add muscle. He added a ton of muscle. Slowly but surely, this guy developed into a great player. His game improved year after year after year after year. Jason Kidd made him a point guard. You know what? It worked. Mike Budenholzer put him at power forward. You know what? That worked. This guy put in the work to be able to play, realistically, all 5 positions. He's changed his game multiple times, from being the initiator on offense to being very ISO heavy, everyone spread out on the perimeter and let me do my thing with my Spider-Man arms. This guy was a non-lottery pick, 15th overall. But he put in the work to be successful. He put in the work to do whatever his coach wanted him to do. Whether it was Larry Drew, Jason Kidd, or Mike Budenholzer. And now, this guy could run for governor of Wisconsin and win in a landslide. He never has to buy another drink in the state for as long as he lives. He is a legend in Wisconsin. Outside of the Pfizer Forum, put a statue of him now. He doesn't need to do anything else. I mean, let's be honest. Last offseason, we were talking about the possibility of the Bucks blowing things up after losing to the Heat. There was talk of them firing Budenholzer, trading Middleton, even trading Giannis. The thinking was he's not going to re-sign in Milwaukee. It's a small market. He's never going to win there. Get something for him now before you see him leave for a big market and you get absolutely nothing in return. But he stayed loyal to the team that drafted him. What a novel concept. He saw the Bucks trade for Jrue Holiday. He saw the Bucks add Bobby Portis. He saw that the Bucks were making a concerted effort to put a championship winner together with him at the center. So before the season started, he signed a long-term extension. Now the basketball gods rewarded him by giving him an NBA title. The Bucks had to build this thing from the ground up. Drafting Giannis, trading for an unproven Middleton, trading for Holiday, mortgaging the future for him. No NBA player has ever said, you know what, I really want to go to Milwaukee. What LeBron James did for the Heat, I'm going to do for the Bucks. That's where I want to build my super team. The city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, don't kid yourself. You're going to see some big players go there now. Milwaukee's now a title winner. Giannis should get the key to the city. I'm telling you, the guy never needs to buy a drink there for the rest of his life. It's kind of weird. The NBA is a star-driven league. And in a perfect world, they want super teams duking it out for the NBA title. Their ideal finals was Nets-Lakers or Nets-Clippers. They would have been fine with the Sixers, but they want big markets. You know what? This could be the best thing that ever happened for the NBA. The two best players on the Bucks, Giannis and Chris Middleton. How did they get there? Giannis was a draft pick, and Middleton was traded for before anyone knew he'd be any good. But you know what? Just like the Bucks developed Giannis, they developed Middleton. They turned him into a player that in 3 of the last 4 seasons has put up over 20 points per game. Excellent shooter. 2-time All-Star. If Middleton had stayed with the Pistons, would he have turned into this? Probably not. But just like they developed Giannis, they developed Middleton. They developed his defense. Like I said, they developed his shooting. This should give all small market teams hope. Look at a team like the Pelicans. They have Zion. They have Brandon Ingram. At this very moment, they have Lonzo Ball. They can point to this and say, if the Bucks can do it, we can do it. We can build our core up and turn them into superstars. And when the time is right, we'll make a blockbuster trade to get a superstar as opposed to trading one away. Same thing with the Timberwolves. Stick with us, Cat. Stick with us, D'Lo. You can win here. You don't need to go to a big market. You don't need to join a super team. You can make this a super team. The biggest issue that the NBA has had for a long time is lack of parity. It's been LeBron in the finals, the Warriors in the finals, the Spurs in the finals, the Celtics in the finals, Kobe's Lakers in the finals. Now we're getting some new blood. And you know what? A finals that started out with no juice whatsoever produced 3 really, really good games with some iconic moments. The block in Game 4, the alley-oop in Game 5, the 50-point performance in Game 6, all by Giannis. This finals actually turned into a good thing for the NBA. I was 100% wrong. The ratings will be down. But from a pure basketball perspective, the small market teams have been given hope. You don't need to be in a big market to win. And the best player on a title winner came into the league as a lanky kid from Athens. Not Athens, Georgia. Athens, Greece. The NBA is really a global game now. And it's lucky to have a guy like Giannis, who's loyal, who's a hard worker, who's just an all-around nice guy, holding the crown of being the best player on a title winner. In the long run, this will be a great thing for the NBA. Short term, the ratings are going to suffer, and you'll have people within the NBA saying, man, I wanted a big market in this. It had to be Milwaukee versus Phoenix. There's no juice there. No, there was juice. The last 3 games of these finals were great. Absolutely fantastic games. This will turn into a good thing for the NBA. There's no question about that. Now, I haven't forgotten about the Suns. Congratulations to them. You know, they actually have a core that can make it back to the playoffs. Will they go on a big run? It depends. The Suns got really lucky. That's what these finals prove. They prove that the Suns just got incredibly lucky. The first round, LeBron not at 100%, Anthony Davis not at 100%. The second round, no Jamal Murray. The third round, no Kawhi Leonard. You go up against a healthy Bucks team, and you blow a 2-0 lead. You got Devin Booker wilting in an elimination game, shooting just 8 for 22 from the field, 0 for 7 from beyond the arc, turning the ball over 6 times. DeAndre Ayton wasn't that good. Jay Crowder missed a lot of shots. Chris Paul needs some help. I mean, this was it for Paul. Do you see him getting back to the NBA Finals? I don't. Great player, future Hall of Famer. This was his one opportunity to win an NBA Finals. He couldn't do it with the Clippers. He couldn't do it with the Rockets. This was it. He just didn't get any help. It's kind of funny. Game 5 was an offensive explosion for both teams. Game 6 was a fantastic defensive game by both teams. Both teams shot less than 25% from beyond the arc. We know that these teams can shoot, but these teams clamped down defensively. The final score was 105-98. In this NBA, that's a low-scoring game. I mean, the Suns are a good team, don't get me wrong, but they just got really lucky. And in all honesty, I don't want to rain on their parade. Okay, I just spent a lot of time praising them, but this is the truth. The Bucks got lucky too. You can't tell me that we saw the two best teams in the NBA going at it for the NBA title. That's what the NBA Finals should be. We didn't get that. The Bucks faced a Nets team that wasn't functioning at 100%. They didn't even have to go through the Sixers because the Hawks beat them. The Suns didn't have to go through the Jazz, who were the best team in the West all year. That does leave a bad taste in my mouth a little bit. I mean, make no mistake about it, and I'm not saying this as a Nets fan, but the Nets are worth talking about here. They're worth spending a lot of time on. Keep this in mind. If Joe Harris hits just one more shot in Game 7, or Blake Griffin, or Bruce Brown, the Nets win the title. If Kevin Durant had been just half a foot back on that shot to send the game into overtime, Mike Budenholzer's fired. I mean, congrats to Budenholzer. I like Budenholzer. He's a good coach. But if the Bucks had lost that series to the Nets, a series that they came very close to losing, he's gone. Talk about the Suns getting lucky. The Bucks got lucky. James Harden not at 100%. No Kyrie Irving in games 5, 6, and 7. The New York Islanders could have beaten the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Final. You know what? Same thing with my beloved Nets. They could have beaten the Suns. They could have beaten the Hawks. This should have been the Nets, and that ticks me off. I mean, congrats to Brook Lopez. Okay, I'm really happy that Lopez won an NBA title. Holds the record for most points by a net all time. But this was shaping up so perfectly for the Nets. They don't even have to face the Sixers. They just have to beat the Atlanta Hawks. And in the West, they have to beat a Phoenix Suns team that has feasted on injured teams. The Nets are winning this thing. I mean, think about this. The Brooklyn Nets, after Game 2, were in the catbird seat. They had beaten the Nets by 39 points, the largest losing point margin in a playoff game all time for an eventual NBA champion. It didn't matter that James Harden was hurt. Durant was playing out of his mind. Kyrie was playing out of his mind. The defense was fantastic. Even after Game 5, the Herculean performance by Durant, the Nets are winning this thing twice. I thought there's no way on earth that the Brooklyn Nets are losing this series after Game 2 and after Game 5. They blew it. I mean, this does set up a great storyline. The Nets are probably going to enter next season as the title favorites. In fact, I saw odds already that have the Nets as the overwhelming title favorites. You're going to get a lot of people juiced up for a Nets-Bucks rematch. Eastern Conference Finals, Nets-Bucks. The ratings will be through the roof. Watching the Lightning hoist the Stanley Cup was hard because it could have been the Islanders. It was tough watching the Bucks. It could have been the Nets. Islanders would have steamrolled the Habs. The Nets would have steamrolled the Suns. But I don't want this to put a damper on what the Bucks did, okay? Give Giannis all the credit in the world. Give the Bucks all the credit in the world for building their team up from nothing. There was a time less than 10 years ago where it really looked like the Bucks were going to leave Milwaukee. Now they've won a title for a city and a state that really needs it. With the Aaron Rodgers news, they need some good sports news. Congrats to the Bucks. Congrats to Giannis. Congrats to the Suns. This was a great NBA Finals. We're going to be watching games 4, 5, and 6 for a really, really long time. For a finals that had no juice. For a finals that no one predicted. And no one outside of Wisconsin and Arizona really wanted. We got some great moments. And the future of the NBA is incredibly bright. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And it's kind of funny. If you piece together all the reports we're getting from NHL insiders, we know what the Kraken are going to do in the expansion draft. We don't know if there are any trades, but we know who the Kraken are going to take, for the most part. So it leaves me in a little bit of a pickle. I'm going to give you a show about the expansion draft tomorrow night. With all these reports coming out now, how much of what the Kraken are going to do I talk about now? Do I save it all for tomorrow? No, that's not the right way to go about this. The right way to go about this is to break down the biggest stories that we've gotten so far. It leaves some suspense for tomorrow. It plays into what I already talked about with Chris Drieger yesterday. This is the right way to do it. I'm not going to waste any time. The first bit of news is that the Kraken are going to select Adam Larson from the Oilers and will sign him to a 4-year deal worth $16 million. And this is a solid move for the Kraken. I like Larson. He's in the prime of his career, 28 years old. Played pretty well for the Oilers last year, had 10 points in 56 games. Wasn't great in the playoffs. He did have 2 assists, but he was a -4. I remember once upon a time, this guy was one of the best prospects in the NHL. Like, I remember in NHL 11, this guy would turn into the next Bobby Orr. Remember when he was traded for Taylor Hall? Straight up? My God, that was a terrible trade for the Oilers. Nothing against Larson, but Hall's a lot better than Larson. You can't do that trade straight up. Terrible job by Peter Chiarelli. Larson's Oilers career started badly, and now it's ending badly. The Oilers wanted Larson back. Him leaving leaves a big hole in their defense. It seemed like the Oilers were going to bring Larson back. It seemed like negotiations were going well. Evidently not. And bear in mind, Tyson Barrie is a free agent. Yes, they still have Darnell Nurse. Yes, they traded for Duncan Keith. Ethan Bear is solid. Evan Bouchard seems like he's going to turn into a really good player. But this is an Oilers team that needs to win now. How much can you bet on potential with guys like Bear and Bouchard? This is tough for the Oilers, make no mistake about it. $4 million per year, maybe a little bit of an overpay, but the Kraken are a new team, so cap space isn't a big priority for them. I can't get upset about it. Good move by the Kraken in bringing him in. The second bit of news is that Carey Price is going to stay with the Canadiens. It looked touch and go there for a little bit, but Price will stay in Montreal. I do not like the Kraken passing on Carey Price. I understand the concerns. Alright, Price is due a ton of money. He's not getting any younger. And yeah, he had some injury concerns. God only knows how serious they are. Let me ask you something. Would it surprise you if, like, in a week, you heard a report that the injuries that Price has really aren't that serious? It's clearly not that serious because Price was fantastic in the playoffs. Look at what Price did for the Canadiens. Carried them to the Stanley Cup Finals. Their first Stanley Cup Finals appearance since 1993. All you need is that type of a goalie, and you can get to the Cup Finals. Look what Marc-Andre Fleury did for the Golden Knights. Yes, it's a lot of money, but when you have the opportunity to take a guy like Carey Price, who, if the Canadiens had won the Stanley Cup, probably would have been the Conn Smythe winner, you need to do it. Yes, it's a lot of money, but he's worth it. Yes, there are some injury concerns. It's a risk you need to take. Carey Price would have given you a great chance to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. And that's your goal. You just saw the Golden Knights do it in their first year. That's got to be your goal if you're Ron Francis. You can't be satisfied with just a playoff berth. I'm not saying it's a finals appearance or bust, but that's what I was aiming for when I did my simulation for the Kraken. Again, I'll go over that tomorrow night. I don't like the Kraken passing on Price. The Habs got really, really lucky here, in my opinion. One other thing that I don't like is who the Kraken are taking from my beloved Islanders. The Islanders are going to lose their first-line right winger. Jordan Eberle will be a member of the Kraken. I don't like losing Eberle. I understand that Eberle's on a big contract. And you want to tell me that he's underwhelmed since coming to the Islanders? You can make that argument. With Barry Trotz as his head coach, Eberle has never scored 20 goals and has never scored more than 40 points. That's what we all expected Eberle to do, and then some, when Garth Snow made the great trade for him, giving up just Ryan Strome. There's no question that Eberle is underwhelmed. But to lose him for nothing is tough. See, here's my thing. Why didn't the Islanders protect Eberle and leave a guy like Matt Martin exposed? Why didn't they protect Bailey and leave a guy like Cal Clutterbuck exposed? Losing Eberle upsets me. The thing is, though, I actually think that I can be placated. Eberle was on a big contract. He's due $5.5 million for the next 3 years. So if you add $5.5 million to the projected cap space that CapFriendly.com currently has the Islanders as having, and you add Boychuk's $6 million to that, so we're adding $11.5 million total, that gives the Islanders over $23 million in cap room. That opens up the possibility of bringing back Kyle Palmieri. If Lou Lamoriello thinks that Kyle Palmieri is better than Jordan Eberle, who am I to disagree with him? Boy, that's a far cry from what I've said in the past. Like I said, getting rid of Andrew Ladd's contract changed my tune. We've heard rumors about the Islanders trading for Vladimir Tarasenko. Maybe that could happen now. Maybe they go after another free agent. Maybe a guy like Gabriel Landeskog. Or Mike Hoffman. Or Taylor Hall. The Islanders need to replace Jordan Eberle. I don't want to hear that Oliver Wahlstrom's going to slide up to the first line and Kiefer Bellows is going to be a full-time third liner. No, that doesn't work for me. I want to go all in for a Stanley Cup. Plugging in the young guns doesn't do that. This team has proven that they can win a Stanley Cup. Back-to-back Stanley Cup semifinals appearances. If you think that Eberle is overpaid and you want to move on from him, I'm okay with that, but you've got to replace him. It's got to be a guy of Kyle Palmieri's ability at the bare minimum. Anything less, I'll be really upset. I'll close this show out with some NFL Valk talk. And the San Francisco 49ers making Fred Warner the highest paid inside linebacker in NFL history. They just signed him to a 5-year extension worth $95 million. That pays him more than C.J. Mosley. That pays him more than Bobby Wagner. Congrats to Warner for securing this contract, but this is a terrible move for the 49ers. They just shattered the market for inside linebackers for a guy who's only had one great year. Fred Warner's a good player. He's a really good player. But he's only had 1 year, according to Pro Football Focus, where he's had a grade above 67. It was last year. His grade was 88.6. He was elite. But his play is going to fall off a little bit because Robert Saleh's no longer there. You can't give a guy almost $100 million and $19 million a year based off one great year. It doesn't work like that. He wouldn't even get this deal in free agency. I get that he's young, and he's a really good player. But almost $100 million? Come on, he's not worth that. He's not worth $19 million a year. 5 years at $75 million would have been my absolute ceiling. That's $15 million a year. He'd eclipse guys like Jalen Smith, Zach Cunningham, Miles Jack, Deion Jones, guys like that. He wouldn't approach the top tier of guys like Mosley and Wagner, because he doesn't deserve to. He only has one great year. This is an egregious overpay. There's no other word for it. This is egregious. Warner will be good. He's a really good player. But he's not worth $19 million a year. He's not worth almost $100 million. I like John Lynch. But this is a really bad move by him. Tomorrow, you're going to get a full NBA mock draft that I'm going to do with Nick Ornberger. For the specific rules, you can search out last year's mock draft that we did. I will explain it before we get into the draft. But if you want a little clarity now, you can search it out. Tomorrow night, you're going to get my reaction to the Seattle Kraken's expansion draft. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying that the reason the Yankees never lay an egg is because they don't operate on chicken feed.